Hi. Well, thank you for meeting with me tonight. So, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Thanks for asking. So let's get in a little bit. Tell me a little bit about the inner dialogue that goes through your head. So, just things that you kind of say to yourself on a regular basis. Something good, something bad happens. Just kind of what goes through your head.
I just have like this need to be, I don't know if it's like popular, but like I need to like fit in with the crowd and be like among like the cool kids and just like be in with whatever's going on, whether it's we're getting food or we're going out to do something. Like I just want to be involved with it, and I have like that FOMO when it doesn't happen, especially when I have to like do my other job. I'm just like, it's fine, guys. Have fun and make bonds without me.
So you said FOMO, fear of missing out. Is that
Yeah.
okay? Yeah. So you just want to be included with what's going on. I think that's fair. I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't think that's anything too crazy to happen.
Yeah.
So where do you kind of think that stems from? Like, is there anything that you can think of that's like been like a repetitive occurrence that has kind of led you to feel this way, or is there like maybe one incident or like a series of incidences that kind of
Probably
initiated that?
around after I moved in with my aunt on my mom's side. When I lived with her, there was a big need to be popular and be like wanting me to be in cheerleading, even though I was never a cheerleader type of thing, and wanting me to like be with the cool kids, and she kind of like shunned away when I tried to be friends with like the nerds, and also like just being with that family, I never really fit in. I was like, my sister and I were bookworms, and she was in college, and I was there alone, and they were all like, oh, sports, and I'm like, so this is what happened in Harry Potter. So I never really was able like to participate in their conversations because sports weren't like my thing. Like I was a band nerd, not like the cheerleader or the popular person. So
do you think it was more of like your values not lining up, or more of you not necessarily fitting in with them, so now you want to fit in with them, or do you feel like it was more of like a pressure from them to fit in constantly?
probably a pressure from them. So that kind of, when you said values, that kind of put two parts on it. My mom, we went to church every single Sunday. We were normally late because she was doing her makeup, but we lived in the same subdivision as our priest. The priest came to my house on my first communion. Like, we were tight.
Yeah.
And when I lived with my aunt, there wasn't really a value on religion, and when I called her out for it, she was like, no, we go to church. I'm like, I don't remember going to church since I moved in with you guys.
Yeah.
But it's cool. And also, like, just, like, other things where it's like, I wanted to be a bookworm and, like, learn things and be involved in my education, where they were like, okay, now you have to go play with friends and, like, make those, like, do things with friends and be popular. And it's like, I kind of just want to sit in my room and read a book and learn about stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's that.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. Yeah. So how do you feel, or do you feel like this kind of impacts your daily life, like the relationships and friendships that you make now, things like that? Is it something that occurred that, kind of is on your mind on a regular basis, or is it just like incidences where it may pop up?
I definitely get like a little sad when like if I can't go out and do something, and then all of a sudden everybody has these bonds that I don't have because I wasn't able to go out because I might have been working my second job. So everyone got to go out and like have fun. And I'm just like, well, I'm happy that I get to participate in this conversation. So it kind of brings me back to like when I was living with my aunt. So like just puts me in like a bad headspace, and then I go home and I'm just like, well, I really wish my parents never passed away, because then I might not have been the same way, because when I lived with my parents, like, I was the popular kid, but all my friends had a big value on homework, too. Mm-hmm. Like, we constantly were competing with each other to be best. Like, when we did the time, like, the math time thing,
like the multiplication test or whatever.
So I was always like part of like the ones that like my friend, we had 3 different classes. There was the dumb kids, the middle, like average, and then there was the above average. So my friends were all in the above average class. and we would just, like, all fool around and be like, haha, I'm smarter than you. Like, that was the relationship we had, where it's like, we were competing to be smarter with each other.
Like a healthy competition.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, I mean, you know, we also made each other laugh during class, and one of my friends got bumped onto the average class because we made each other laugh too much, but, but, like, it was a healthy competition for the most part to, like, encourage each other to be better. So, and then, like, my mom even encouraged it because I'd go home and go over, like, all my math stuff, I'd go over all my reading stuff, and I wasn't allowed to play with my friends until we got that done.
Mm-hmm. So you had different expectations. And
yeah.
How old were you when your parents passed?
I was 11 when my mom passed away. She passed away from cancer, and hers was, like, an expected kind of passing. Mm-hmm. She, like, had breast cancer, and then, like, a year later it came back as liver cancer. And so, she had, like, a hospice nurse and everything, so it was all kind of, like, we knew, like, I was there for her last breath and everything. For my dad, it was 2 years later, and he died of a broken heart, which is what they said. And because he passed out at work, and then they drilled a hole in his head when they, like, to relieve the pressure. And when they did that, his brain, like, and so with that came, like, a lot of other trauma, because my aunt on my dad's side, when my sister was a junior, told my sister she's the reason my dad passed away, and because it was a stress-related broken heart issue, we could be blamed for this. And then fast forward to my junior year of high school, my aunt that I've been living with, that focused on some popularity, said, like, I could see why your dad died. I was like, oh, okay, it's cool. So
would you say living with your aunt was a nice experience, or do you feel that there was maybe a lot of strain in that relationship?
Definitely a lot of strain, especially after she said that to me. I've been able to talk it out with my sister, and, like, my aunt's just kind of uneducated in that sense, where they see mental health as as an embarrassment. And I even was referred to a counselor when I was in high school, and I was grounded while I was in counseling until I was referred out of counseling. So they had to say I was no longer suicidal. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about that at all, or?
So I, like I said, like, I want to be accepted by friends. I want to have friends. And by doing that, I try to care for my friends and show that, like, I'm a caring person. So this kid that I thought was my friend, I wrote him a note saying, hey, I felt this way because, like, I had my parents pass away and all these things, and, like, this is what I did to cope with it. Like, yeah, like, I wanted to die, but I see, like, for me, what keeps me here is that I have my sister.
Yeah.
And she, like, I know she would be devastated. Like, I'm her only person. She is my only person. And I was like, this is what helped me. Like, I want to help you. Like, whatever you need, like, I'm here for you. Yeah, like, I kind of just, like, put my story out there for him, and he turned it in, because he said, like, he was suicidal, so I was like, here's this. And so he turned it into the guidance counselor, and so I got in trouble, and they were like, yeah, she needs to see help since she's suicidal. Like,
do you think you were actually in trouble, though, or do you think it was out of concern?
With my aunt and uncle, I was in trouble because I embarrassed them.
Okay.
And because the school had to call them. Now our business is in the streets, because Canfield, where I went, was, like, a small area, so everyone knows everything. Everyone knows everybody's business. And, like, my uncle repeatedly told me that I was going to end up just like my cousin on my dad's side, where I was going to be pregnant at 16. And I'm like, I mean, that's not really where I'm at in life, but, I mean, if that's what you think.
Yeah.
But it's because, like, they didn't, like, when it came to difficult topics, they were just like, brush under the rug, don't let the public know, like, don't talk bad to anybody, just talk bad to your family. I'm like, well, you guys aren't solving my problems.
Yeah, it's
and,
not
like,
really helpful.
Yeah, like, even my dad, like, when I was still with him, he had me in counseling, and when I moved with my aunt in Florida, she kept me in counseling, and then when I moved from my aunt, they were like, yeah, this isn't going to happen anymore because it's an embarrassment. So, it's like, and that made it really hard for me to seek help, because I'm like, I know I need help, because my dad put me in it, it's probably a good idea. But it was hard to, like, get to that point, since it was seen as an embarrassment all this time.
still going. Sorry. Okay, so if you could kind of go back and maybe, have any words to tell yourself back then to kind of change your perception of the events that were happening at the time to kind of help you be, who you want to be, how do you think you would go about doing that?
I'd probably, am I talking to, past me, or am I talking to me now?
I mean, either, whatever you feel comfortable. If you want to, the knowledge that you kind of have now, what you might say to past you to kind of help cope better with the situations that were happening, or even, you now, what, just looking back, how to change a little bit the perspective of...
So, I mean, I'll do me back then first, and then, So, if I was talking to me back then, when I moved in with my aunt and was seeing these pressures to be popular and whatnot, I probably would have just looked at myself and been like, you need to uphold, your mom's values. I mean, when you're a teenager, you kind of just want to do your own thing, and if your aunt's letting you not focus on homework, hey.
Yeah.
But I probably would have just told myself to uphold my mom's values more, and try to, stay on that road, and, I know what I need to do to be better, and, don't worry about what others think about me as much. I mean, now I do a lot of self-reflecting.
Yeah.
When I come out of a situation, I'm like, okay, what happened there? I'm really frustrated about it, but why did this situation happen? What could I have done better? Was it me? Or what did they do that, made me feel this way? And I always, rationalize how people act.
Yeah.
When people...
So I was going to tell you, that's a really good coping skill. In a way, to maybe not get so, caught up in your own headspace a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I always, just, think, what are they going through? They might not be angry at me. They might not have intentionally left me out of something. And it might have just been hey, the group is doing this at this time. You can't come. That's, the rest of us can, so we'll get you next time.
Yeah.
And, so I mean, I just have to figure out, where that is and see where, what is important to me and do what's right for me.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. It definitely sounds like you're on a good track. Getting to a good headspace.
Yes.
So, well, thank you again for meeting with me and taking time to do this.
Of course. Thank you.
You're welcome.